Hi everybody, welcome back to my front porch. Today we are going to harden the Puukko and do a little grinding on it. Before we get into that, I'd like to go ahead and invite you to get a cup of coffee, tea, beer, whatever you feel like. Pause the video, come back when you're ready. See you then.
So I'm not showing you all of the heat treatment steps here that would normally be done. In fact, I'm really only showing you one of them, the most exciting one. Normally I would start, in fact I did start with what is called a normalization cycle. And the point of that is to get the grain structure from the horrible mess it is from being hammered on over the course of forging into a more uniform structure. To do that, you just get it cherry red, let it air cool, and then do that a couple times. I like 4. 4 seems like a good number. What I'm doing on screen now, though, is hardening. That's to make the steel not deform when you hit it with something else. The downside is it gets really brittle, so from there you have to take another step afterward. The rod that I was holding there was a magnet. That was how I was testing if it was ready for quench or not. So for most steels, this does vary some, but it's easy to research and find out which one what you should be doing for which steel. You heat it to just past non-magnetic, because after a certain point the steel loses its magnetism, and that's when you're ready to quench. Then you quench it in simply. This is done to remove heat very quickly. And you saw I shook it up and down the whole time. That's because the steel is hot enough that the oil instantly boils, making a vapor layer between the oil and the steel. And I want to try to break that up some. Next would be tempering. Tempering is what decreases the brittleness and increases the toughness, making it so that you can actually use this knife instead of, having something that's going to be very sharp but break as soon as you mistreat it at all. This one varies a lot. So if you're going to do it, find out what steel you have and do your research. In my case, though, I guessed, because this is a coil spring and I don't know what the steel was that they made that out of, but I baked it in my oven for 475 in 2 1-hour increments. And I did that before I started grinding, because you don't want to grind on a hardened steel. It doesn't grind well, and you could break it more than remove material like you want. But yeah, when you're done with that, the heat treatment's over, and then you're ready to go on to the next stuff, which in this case is just grinding. And grinding is boring. It's drawn out, it takes forever. I'm only showing you a little bit of this. At some point you'll get to see me shape an edge on something. For right now, though, I need to fix my camera angles before I can do that. The post-heat treat grinding is necessary. One, this is a blade for my wife. She wanted all the scale off it, and scale does form on the blade while you're heat treating, so gotta remove all that. Two, it's not ground to a complete finish yet. I really only ground up to up to a, well, actually I really only did the rough grinding with a 40 grit belt. Before I heat treated. Some people go up to a 200 grit. I don't see the value in that because I still have to grind when it's over. But hey, more power to them. The dangers of grinding a heat treated blade are that you can ruin your heat treatment. And so I do some things to mitigate that. That's probably way overthought, but well, I do it anyway. As you can tell, I'm making quick, even passes across the whole blade every time I put it on the grinder. So no just rocking it back and forth in the spot I want to grind. I gotta make sure that it stays even, first of all. And second, I want to keep it on there for very short periods of time, because the grinder will make a lot of heat build up in the blade, and too much heat, I think it's around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, is enough to really mess up your heat treatment. And I don't want that. I just did all that work. I don't want to have to do it again, especially since a post-grinding blade is really prone to warpage. So to keep that from being a problem, I support the back of the blade with my, or the opposite side from the belt with my thumb. And whenever it gets too uncomfortable to keep my thumb there, I stop grinding and I put it in some water to cool it off. I also alternate sides of the blade so that I'm not just grinding away at one side and then have an unbalanced blade when I'm done. So one pass on each side, and then into the quench for this blade because it's pretty thin.
Alright, so there we have it. I went ahead and did a little grinding off camera, but there's where I got now. This thing is sharp. It's up to 1,000 grit finish on both the edge there and the flat of the blade. I did notice while I was working on it that, let's see if I can get this in here. There's a slight bend. It's not bad, but it's there. So I think I can fix it with the grinder. I hope I can fix it with the grinder. We're gonna find out. Either way, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.